Okay, Amy, we're going. When you were a child, what did you want to be when you grew up?
A reader. I just wanted to read, be left in peace.
And did you have any vocational ambitions as a child?
None at all, as I recall. I think for a little while, I thought it might be nice to be, a warrior, sort of Joan of Arc without the auditory hallucinations and the burning. But I don't remember actually having any other ambitions at all.
And what about as you moved through your teens and into college?
I hoped to be employed. I worked pretty hard. I was a waitress through most of college. Well, I had thought about being a lawyer. My oldest sister is a lawyer. I had thought about that because she was very good at it, and then I went to watch her one day and realized the person she was defending was guilty, and I was horrified. I think I thought I'd probably be a director in the theater. It was one of my majors in college.
You had two undergraduate majors?
Yes, I was a major in theater and in political science.
Huh. What did your parents most want from you?
Want from me or for me?
Both.
What they wanted from me, I don't actually know what they wanted from me. I think what they wanted for me was for me to be, I would say, happy. Well, I would say happy second. Safe and happy and successful in some line of work.
Do you have just the one sibling?
Yes, just my older sister.
What was your place in the social pecking order in high school?
Well, I would say I was sort of just a complete sort of little weirdo and outsider with pink Harlequin glasses until ninth grade, when I was about 14. And then suddenly all of my weirdness and grumpiness and sarcasm became extremely fashionable, and then I was very cool, much to my astonishment, having not spoken to anybody for like 14 years.
Huh. When you enter a room full of strangers today, where do you go? Are you the life of the party, or what are you?
No, I usually go into the kitchen and see if I can help lay out hors d'oeuvres or things like that.
Huh. Were there any signs in childhood that you're going to become a professional writer?
That seems unlikely to me, although I spent a tremendous amount of time in the library. As I say, I think it seems likely that I would become a professional reader if such a job was available. I did write poetry when I was a child, but it was, of the rhyming kind. There was a very high value on literacy in my family in such a way that it actually wasn't considered unusual or even worthy of comment. It was like, of course you read widely, of course one was engaged with the things that one read. It wasn't even worth remarking upon.
What were the most sterling things people said about you as a child and as a teenager when they were predicting your future place in the world?
Startling things?
Sterling.
I have no idea. I mean, I don't know what people said about me when I was a little kid. I don't remember anybody making any. I know that I don't mean to be recalcitrant. I don't actually remember anybody making any remarks to me as a child about my place in the world. I don't remember anybody being at all interested in my place in the world one way or another. I think the unspoken message, certainly from my father, was that anybody who could read and write well would be fine, that his worries were over, basically, once we were literate. And as a teenager, people said the kinds of things they say to, young women who are sort of argumentative and reasonably sort of nimble intellectually, like, oh, you'd be a good lawyer, meaning you like to argue and you're bossy. My father, I think, had sort of hoped I might go to medical school. I don't remember much of any. I mean, I really don't remember any remarks about this one way or the other.
Who was the first serious person to tell you that you were going to be a professional writer?
Nobody ever told me I was going to be a professional writer. After
I mean, not after.
Pardon me?
Sorry.
No, nobody ever told me. I mean, I knew that it was possible that I was going to be a professional writer after I signed my first contract with HarperCollins for my first collection of short stories.
How did you become a writer? You were a therapist, and so how did you move to becoming a writer?
I had been thinking about becoming a psychoanalyst and had gone for a meeting with the guy who would have been my training analyst. And on the way home, I found myself thinking about a plot for a murder mystery because I drove past my college and where I used to bartend, and it was always my job as a bartender to wake up the old alumni at the end of the party just to make sure they weren't dead. And I remember thinking, it would be funny if they were dead. That'd be a good mystery. And so I made some notes, and I started writing up the story. And by the time I got home, I had about 15 pages of notes, and I called the guy who would have been my training analyst and said, I think I'm not going to do this right now. I think maybe there are some stories I'd like to tell. And he said to me, very sensibly, well, neither of us is getting any younger. Don't dawdle. And I started working on the mystery, which was sort of like warm-up exercises for me. And then about halfway through the mystery, I started writing short stories.
How have you realized that you've done well with a piece of writing? Is it overwhelmingly something that comes from within you, or are there external sources of validation that have told you you have done well?
Well, I think, the first feeling when you finish a piece is, oh, thank God I'm finished. And then, well, am I really finished? And then for me, probably I'm not finished. I mean, this will be after a number of revisions. But then I'll go, well, do I really need one more revision? Do I really need, like, number 37? And then I might read it aloud yet again. And then I think, oh, no, that's okay. That's the best I can do. That's as I intended it. So I think it's mostly internal. I mean, it's always nice if people like what you've done, but that's not always the best gauge.
Have you always had a sense that you're a pretty good gauge of yourself and know what you're doing? My marital history suggests otherwise, but I think that on the whole, I have mostly felt like I'm a reasonably reliable gauge for myself. I mean, which doesn't mean I don't make, huge mistakes, but even then I tend to be conscious of them. Did you have a sense as a child and a teenager that you had something wonderful to give to the world, or is that too romantic? No, I didn't. I think mostly when I was a child, I very much hoped that the world would leave me alone, since it was pretty clear to me that I was kind of an oddball. And I would say that as a teenager, I actually had a pretty good time as a teenager. I don't remember thinking I had anything particular to contribute. I mean, I had observed that I was actually a good teacher. I did a lot of tutoring of younger kids, and I had observed that I was good with kids and liked them, and they liked me. I don't remember concluding anything else about my talents. Are you a better therapist or a better writer? Well, I think I've had my days as both. I don't practice anymore as a therapist, but probably a better therapist. First of all, I've been doing it for longer, and also you have a partner as a therapist, which I think sort of